The next step is to explore using film stocks. I'll show you two different ways to do this depending on what you want. Remember, on the left-hand side of our previous grade, we have our neutral and our primary. We have a set of layers already created. We're going to be working with film stocks, and I'll show you how to apply it and keep those layers. Film stocks are a digital representation of film. They give you the ability to treat your video as if it was shot on film. Film and video have different characteristics. There are too many to explain in this tutorial, but one that is important is something called roll-off. Roll-off is what happens when one color transitions to another. This is especially true of highlights. I want to move down here to a different clip and explore this on this clip right here, the beginning of this one. If you notice in the top left-hand corner, we've got some highlights. I'm going to blow my screen up to full screen by holding the Shift key down and tapping the H key. You'll notice that in the middle of the highlights, it goes to pure white. There is no detail in this area whatsoever. Nothing. It's completely gone. This is what happens when video gets so bright that it goes out to white. Film, on the other hand, would roll this off gracefully and have a little bit of detail in there and just not have these harsh edges. I'm going to press my Escape key to get out of full screen mode. Now down at the bottom I've got my film stocks, and I'll expose them just by clicking on them. I've had them collapsed inside there. And you'll notice that SpeedGrade ships with a number of film stocks. It's important to note that these are based on these specific films. These are not fakes or a one-click kind of application. They're meant to be used with a grade. In fact, if I was choosing to use film stocks, I would start with a film stock and then I would grade on top of this. You can add it after the fact, but it's much easier to edit once you know the characteristics. So remember, what we're looking at here is the characteristics of the video that I shot. I'm going to apply this particular Kodak right here. I happen to like this one. And when I do that, on the left-hand side, you'll see something added. So I'll click, and it adds a second layer inside here. Now I'm going to hold the Shift key down and press H again so we can zoom in, and you'll notice the harshness of those highlights are gone. I'll press and hold the 0 key again to show a before. You can see the harshness in those edges. I'll let go, and they're gone. This is the roll-off of video. That is the roll-off of film. I'll tap the Escape key to get out of there. At this point, if I wanted to, I would start grading the primary layer on top of this film look. I'll just collapse this right now. I like this idea because it allows me to grade as if I shot this on film. Now, there are a few other things too. Before, here's the 0 key with before and after. And you'll notice that it definitely is doing more than just working with the highlights. This is the specific characteristics of that Kodak film. You can try different ones to see what they look like, and the characteristics will change depending on what you're clicking on inside here. It's also going to get rid of anything you have in this layer stack. That's why it's important to use these carefully and apply them either before or after you're starting to grade. Now I'm just clicking on these each individually just to test them out and look at them. When I've decided on one that I want, I'll hit the Enter key on my keyboard. And you'll notice that the word preview in this area is gone once I do that. One more time, select it, hit Enter. I've now locked that in. That's the characteristics of that film stock. And as I said before, I could come in here and start to grade on top of that. But let's go back to the other clip that we had where we added our color correction to this. And for this particular clip, there it is. Remember, we added the neutral and the primary. There was our before, there's our after. If I open up my film stocks and apply that same Kodak, you'll notice that it's going to get rid of everything I had there before and create a different look, which might be what you want. But I actually want to work with what I had there before. So remember, I set my look in there before. This is the one that I saved. And to save a look, you just click on this button right here, Save a Look, and it will save it in whatever folder you've got set inside here. To apply it like before, hit the Enter key, and that's our look. So how do I apply this film stock and keep my grading layers? Well, you can do that down at the bottom here, not the primary or the secondary, but this button. When I click on this button, it allows me to apply any lookup table or LUT. A lookup table is the information of certain color characteristics. When I select this, you'll notice that my wheels are gone. I don't have my trackballs. Instead, now I have a pop-up menu with some choices. And the one I wanted to go with was this particular 5218, the first one in the list. And there it is. And if I just go over and turn the eyeball on and off, you'll notice the roll off again in those highlight areas is a little bit easier to work with. It's also really added quite a bit of contrasting here, maybe more than I need. Again, that's why I would, if I was choosing to work with film stocks, I would apply them first and then I would color grade over top of that. I can still do that now. I can go back to my primary layer, just going to collapse this, go to my overall. Remember, we increased the contrast by moving the offset outside wheel to the left and moving the gain outside wheel to the right. If I wanted to, I could start to turn this down. The characteristics of the film stock are actually taking over at this point. These changes will be different now that you've applied this film stock because it's the characteristics of film and no longer the characteristics of video. So that's how to use the film stocks and how to save our looks and apply our looks down in here. In the next tutorial, we'll learn how to use the shot matching 2-up and 3-up controls.